Well, there is one thing that I have a tendency to do, and that's change. Over the years, my use of iris has changed. Along with the iris came birth order, family tree, cycles and seasons, other programs. Well, I'm changing again. And if I'm right about this change, it is a significant, major change. For some of you, it won't look like much of a change, but for me, it's everything. I've always looked for the significant sweet spot or the exact thing to do that would facilitate the most obvious alignment to success. That success would be emotional, personal, social, spiritual success. What's going to help myself and others basically give the greatest benefit to society, our families, the world? I've always experimented with different supplements, different vibrational remedies, different meditations, different philosophical approaches, always looking for what is better than I've had before. So now it's changed again. And I am already committed to a extensive utilization, experimentation with a new approach. And the new approach is I'm changing the time of the day that the day begins. Sounds odd. Some people say, well, it starts in the morning. Well, yeah, no, it doesn't just start in the morning. When does it start? I used to say that the beginning of the day started at midnight because that made sense with the lung, meridian, feeling, breath, function. One boy beginning with the increase of day length, the increase of all that happened, right? So the ability to be able to go, oh, the ascending day length after the darkness of autumn comes the gradual increasing of light. To me, that gradual increasing was one boy in the winter connecting to three boy, connected to five boy, and that was breath, humility, linking to truth, three boy, linking to authenticity, five boy. So basically, around 30 years, I've utilized this sequence called 1-3-5, which is essentially the intentional linking of the grandfathers from the mother's side of the family. Mother's father, mother's mother's father, mother's father's father. Yes, I know it's technical, but I think it needs to be technical. If you're going to put the thread of life through the eye of the needle, it's very important to get it right. Say I want to go on a journey and I make a step and I step slightly in one direction or the other direction. What would I have 10 years later, 1,000 years later? What would be the effect of that choice millions of years, billions of years later? A slight change is either in alignment to the divine order or it's outside. Is there an ideal thing to do first? So I practiced for 30 years, believing that the number one sun function of feeling, humility, innocence, breath, would empower the progress. Now I'm changing. I know that's a lot, but it's not, but it is everything. I'm changing to the two-girl function, his wife. So if you think about mother's father, mother's mother corresponds to the experience of self, two-girl, feeling, imagination. It is the ability to feel one's self. Now I'm starting on number 2. I'm going to do the feminine first. And the reality of looking at the iris and looking at left brain, right brain, I began to take people to the feminine side first. Now, some ways that's logical because mother has the predominant influence biochemically and emotionally for her children. Yes, fathers contribute considerable amounts, including their DNA, but it appears that the underlying metabolic system is controlled by the epigenetic influences of the mitochondrial DNA on the mother's side. Well, long story short, I thought the entry was one boy, I'm going to two girl. I'll explain how and why to do this, but for at least 18, probably 27 months, I'm going to integrate just one position. I'm going to integrate the two-girl experience of feeling into all the other positions. So I'm going to do two-girl, which, by the way, corresponds to sunset. It also corresponds to the first month of autumn, the cooling. It has to do with the lake, the two-girl experience. And for me, the quality of the entry into that line is the following of the divine feminine principle to lead with feeling. And perhaps the first feeling I'm experimenting with is peace. That's the easiest one for me to experience. You can call it the peace of the evening because it is corresponding to that time of the day between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. that we enter into ourselves. We come out of the theatrical arena of the unification of the light-filled world of Five Girl. Five Girl is 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., and that's the unification of all the animals, people, species, and they come to the water. I know it's metaphoric, but for me, it's also literal. So if the actual beginning of all future change has to do with the experiences to feel, two girl, the peace of the evening, and then during that 2-hour experience, I orient myself to go to the next sequence it's automatically linked to, which is the 4-girl experience between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. That's the yin side of the heart. That's transformation. That's metamorphosis. That's where you go from being vertical during the day to laying down at night and you're horizontal. You're basically going from feeling into opening the heart. That process of feeling into open the heart is the transformation that leads into the experience of 10 p.m. to midnight, 6 girl, that opens the top of the head. Theoretically, we're to leave, be in the spirit world, to receive that which we are aspiring to learn, and return with it and building the principles at midnight to bring back the masculine principle of increase, 1 boy, 3 boy, 5 boy. Yeah, I know it's a lot of numbers. So I'm going to spend 18 months For some of you, to the point of annoyance, I'm sure, I'm going to keep expanding the two girls, my feeling relationship, to all the other parts of me that are defined as the 12 different birth order positions and the chakra systems ascending and descending, the cycles of the day, the cycles of the months of the season, the stages of life, and so on and so on. The entry point is the only thing I'm changing. Now, if I'm right, it's a game changer because there will be an exact sequence of lessons, feelings, choices that would lead to an alignment demonstrated by the patterns of nature, the cycles of a single day. It has a perfect order. The cycles of a season, the cycles and seasons of the year. It has a perfect order. Theoretically, that pattern of perfection is a message to me to be able to bring myself into harmony with the divine intelligence that has constructed not only this universe, but every other universe, every other cycle and season, sphere, dimension, reality, universe. There is an intelligence. I'd like to learn how to be able to follow it. So this is where it's going. I've already started. It's changing my way. I've come back to meditating again. I've come back to doing visualization functions. I'm even doing some breath exercises on my own. I'm doing some Qigong and other things to implement this pattern. Then I'm going to add to it the biochemical world I've already talked about, and I'm going to engage this within myself. And it's primarily a job of singularity. The difference is the mother's side of the family is all about self. It's about personal responsibility to feel and increase that capacity to feel all the way up to the divine feminine. You can call the divine feminine and the access to it faith if you want, because that's what it is for me. The divine feminine is a personally activated skill set that I can choose to continually increase. The real challenge, in my case, is the father's side. The father's side of the family is group dynamic and group dynamic and group dynamic. Mother side, the inside, the orientation of self. Father side, others, my involvement with others. Boy, I don't know about you, but it's real tough to be involved in relationships of any kind with anyone. And the outside world, 3 primary points of groups you have to deal with. First group, good luck. It's called family. And the only way through family is the independence activated and realized by the two-girl function of actually being able to distinguish yourself from your biological family, because if you don't, they will suffocate you and kill you. They don't intend to, but they've given you all those genetic crystallizations of memory and family that we call family tree, ancestral pattern, and sooner or later, you're going to have to deal with it as an individual and feel it. Now, the very interesting thing about it is that one of the very next group beyond family, 1 girl, 3 girl, which is the group related to those non-genetically blood-related people, your community, your country. That one, by the way, the bad news is Your only way through that one is to have friends. Genuine, transparent, giving and receiving friends. Two girl is your individual way out of your family, but you cannot progress at 3 and 4 without relating to people lovingly. So that the ideal way to progress from 4 and up is to have a genuinely loving relationship with other people. The primary entry into that place is friendship. As much as you would like to have your soulmate and you'd like to have everything perfect around that, the design is to be able to relate to other people sincerely and genuinely on a fraternal level of giving and receiving love. Now, I admit it, I can't do that one. Now, I've tried for years to get that one right. So I need to go all the way back to the reorientation of how to be an individual accurately, lovingly, and in alignment with, so I can take that into my outer social physical development. Because if I'm misaligned in my own belief systems and I go into that one, I'm going to get enormous amounts of pushback, law of attraction events. Now, I'm not planning on intentionally going into the father side for at least 18 months, maybe 27 months of doing just mother's side of the family. That doesn't mean I won't visit them. For example, in this month, the month of June, there's another 3 weeks of what's called 6-boy. That's the ultimate transmission from the pituitary and the top of the head. That's a 6-boy is the farthest, longest push transmission. That's a 6-boy month. But I'm still practicing my 2-girl experience in my heart, but I'm modifying that by what would it feel like to transmit that 6-boy? So why would I transmit a sincere desire for eternal peace as the longest action that I would want to transmit? Do I want to transmit universal personal peace for 3-5 billion years? Because ideally, that's what would be in harmony with the universe. The universe is 13 to 16 billion years. Would I want something to be in motion, giving me law of compensation returns for millions of years? What would I choose with my own will during this month on a 6-boy series of the highest light of the year in the Northern Hemisphere? What would I choose? For me, I'm choosing 2-girl. I'm choosing the ability to experience the feeling of the peace of the evening, and I want to accelerate, increase, and embody that. Next month starts the experience of 1-girl in the Northern Hemisphere, 1-boy in the Southern Hemisphere. What do I want to do next month? 2-girl. I'm going to take my 2-girl feeling into my 1-girl family function, and I want to keep taking my 2-girl through each month of summer into the autumn and for another year, year and a half, just do to girl. And give it my all to get my full attention into the capacity to feel my true, actual soul. And I'm going to slip in a term here for a moment to do that lovingly. That's the goal of this change. Now, for some of you, it doesn't sound like I'm changing very much because I'm still doing the wild and crazy things. To me, it's not wild and crazy, it's completely practical. I'm inviting you to follow this journey. And for those of you who want to do the biochemical element of the emotional element and the soul-based one, yeah, we can do all those. I'm going to. You can watch and see if I live or die, or, well, we'll see. This is how RAYID's changing. You're going to hear it again and again. Either you want to do it or maybe you just want to tune out. I'm not sure. Talk to you again. Bye-bye.